everybody. Today is a very special episode. It is the franzj episode. Everybody, give it up for franzj. Super quick tidbit before this video starts. I would like to mention that throughout the entire map of Nuke, this little info board, you can see this scattered around through various parts of the map. So if you were to forget any callout, just come over here, find one of these signs, and you'll be quickly reminded of what they are. Alright, obviously, this is CT spawn. This area is called Heaven because it's pretty high up. It's the high ground. So, it's called Heaven. In direct contrast, the area right below it is called Hell. And actually, Hell extends over to this room over here as well. So do be mindful of that. This area is called Locker Room. I hope it's clear why it's called a locker room. This entire area is called Ramp, because there's a big ramp here, or I guess two ramps. So this area is called Boost, due to the fact that if you were to get your teammates assistance, and you were to stand on top of their head like so, on this exact box, you can actually boost yourself up like this, and hold this cheeky angle. So, it's called Boost. Pretty intuitive. You can call this area Save, because it's a pretty popular spot to save your gun. Because if you get in this corner, actually, you're relatively safe from the most common bomb plant spot in B, which is right over here. So if the bomb was planted over here, you can actually survive the blast if you stand right in this corner, or this one, depending on whichever one you want. And it's also called Deep Ramp because, from the perspective of people pushing into ramp, it's pretty deep, you get the idea. This is where our first regional difference comes in. If you live in the NA, you are more likely to hear this be called headshot, due to the fact that if someone were to be holding this position, as if I can get him in a pretty good spot right over here, is pretty good enough. Coming into the position, pushing into ramp, you can only see their head. You'd see a little bit more of their body than it is right now, but you kind of get the idea, right? Whenever it's a position that you can only see the enemy's head, it's usually just called headshot. And if you live in the EU, you might hear this being called big box, because, it's a pretty big box. I think it's pretty intuitive. Moving on to the B bomb site, as indicated by this red boundary right over here. Alright, this corner over here is called Toxic because in old versions of Nuke, there used to be a room here actually with a bunch of toxic waste over there, and there used to be a symbol that indicated that this was toxic waste. So this used to be called Toxic, but since there's no room anymore, it just refers to this tiny area over here. This spot you can either call Dark or Under Control Panel. I'm not sure if a lot of people will understand the call out Dark, as my experiences in matchmaking, not a lot of people do. And Under Control Panel because that area up there is a control panel. So this is where a major discrepancy comes in with Nuke. You might be inclined to call this blue box, depending on where you are. I've heard both callouts being used. You can call this blue box, but the problem is right above it, outside of the map, or rather I should say in the outside part of the map, this is also called blue box as well. So you kind of have to make your distinction, or kind of rely on context clues if you're going to call both this box and this box over here blue box. So do be mindful of that. An alternative is to call this just backside and this over here blue box. Completely up to you. This entire walkway is called Catwalk because it's a catwalk. You can also call this Rafters, depending on which word you prefer more. These next two callouts are pretty important, so make sure you're listening well. Do not call this door Squeaky. I know that in Counter-Strike, whenever you see a door, you always call it Squeaky because of the squeaking sound that a door makes when they open. However, the problem with that is that in Nuke, there's 3 very important doors. So, what you do on the B side, at least, is you call this one single and you call this one double. Due to the fact that these two doors are on the exact same site and pretty close to each other, their naming scheme is kind of a package deal, and you would preferably use doors, you would preferably use callouts that are pretty similar to each other. So we call this single, we call this double. As mentioned before, this is called control panel due to all these control panels over here. Going deeper into control panels, we reach this area called secret, and there's actually quite a lot of history behind why this area is called secret, and that's because the old secret used to be over here behind this big garage area, and not a lot of people knew that this area even existed because it was so well hidden, so people used to call it secret. But, you know, after a couple updates, it just so happened that it was moved over to this location instead. So, it still keeps its name, just stick to calling it secret. It refers to this entire area over here, including the stairs. Right over here, this is called vents, and the reason this is called vents and not tunnels is because if you actually look through here, it's very clearly a vent. Like, if you were to just no-clip outside, you can see that the top of this, like, undeniably, it is a vent. Alright, cool. Now we're going to move on to the A bomb site over here, which is indicated by this square area. Once again, this area is called vent, which would make this area fake vent. And the reason for that is if you no-clip once again outside, you can see that this vent isn't connected to anything. So, I hope it's pretty obvious why this is called fake vents. Alright, starting now I'm going to go very rapid fire. This is called Tetris because it's a bunch of boxes stacked on top of each other. The inside of this area is called hut, which would make the area on top of it top of hut. And as mentioned before, that would make this door squeaky. Alright, coming back through a ramp, this room is called trophy room because there's a bunch of trophies over here of, you know, safety awards and stuff, certificates and whatnot. This room right next to it is called vending machine or vending room or vending if you want to get really short and concise with it, because there's 3 very nice vending machines here. This area is called lobby because it's the main lobby area that connects to B bomb site, the A bomb site, and also connects to squeaky that leads down vents and outside as well. And also, it goes through outside. So, you know, being connected to so many places, it's called the main lobby, so it's lobby. And this area over here is called platform, because it's a platform. You can shorten it down to plat also, and if you want to get real nice and concise with it, or real specific with it, you can call it lobby plat. Going up the ladders here, we end up in a rooftop. Obviously, this is going to be called roof. I hope that much is clear. We have finally ended up at T-spawn, which is right in this area. This entire area is called outside because it's the part of the map that's outdoors, if you guys get it. Okay, here's an important distinction to make, another one of our regional differences. If you're in the EU, you're more likely to hear this being called marshmallow because it's a, you know, it's a round cylindrical object that's kind of stubby and fat, and it's also white in color. That sounds like a marshmallow to me. And if you're in North America, you might hear this being called silo. And as for the map creators, they prefer calling it silo as well. So, not really sure what that means about the nationality of the map creators. You be the judge of that. Alright, going super rapid fire again. This box is going to be called red because that's the color of it. This box over here is called white because that's the color of it. And this box over here is called blue. Now, another one of our regional differences is that this is actually white. You're more likely to hear this being called as white if you're in the EU. And if you're in NA, you're more likely to hear the credit card call out, I think. I might be a little bit wrong on the regionals, but, you know, they're both callouts that you might hear. This being white and this being credit card over here. Obviously, it's a pretty thin area. It's a thin slice, kind of resembling the swiper that you swipe your credit card in. This big garage is called garage. I hope that much is clear. Which would make this smaller garage mini garage, or just mini for short. as indicated by this sign over here, which would make the top area of mini top of mini. Pretty cool, right? And before I forget, this cubby area is called under silo because, well, it's under silo. And of course, how could I forget the most important callout? He's right over there, he's right over there, he's right over there. Oh.